So 2023 has undoubtedly been a phenomenal year for Transformers, not only for the live-action blockbuster release, but for collectibles as well. Well, we've arrived officially to the end of 2023. We're closing the chapter. So in classic channel tradition, it is time to round up my top 10 most admired collectibles this year for both Studio Series and Premium. We're gonna mix them up this time. Let's roll!
Alfonso, this is Optimus Prime. Transform and roll out!
What's good, Alfonso Nation? Welcome back, everybody. Guys, we are at the end of 2023, and it is time to round up my favorite collectibles this year. I actually did a lot of changing this year. I decided to kind of backtrack on some things that I initially got rid of, or get things I never thought I would get for the first time. And it was a great year for collectibles in general, so I thought it's time to round up my top 10. Now this is going to be a mix of Studio Series and Premium / upscaled, and so I know last time I did only the Premium and I didn't really touch on Studio Series, but we had a great year for Studio Series. I mean, I would say it was a pretty solid year. So I'm gonna mix them all up, but it's gonna be in order. So my top 10 from 10 all the way to 1 is actually in order from my least to my most. I've spent some time and put them in order because this time I was able to actually rank them properly from what I like the most, from what I like the least. So let's get into the list. Top 10. Coming at number 10, I gotta give it to Studio Series 105, Rise of the Beasts. Mirage. Mirage, to me, just had to get on my top 10 list because I just was really heavily anticipating him. He's such an iconic character in the film, and it's a release of Studio Series that I was really looking forward to because not only was a Porsche licensed product, but it was one of the main characters of the film, and it's essential for a Rise of the Beast collection. Now, when the announcement came out, everybody was looking at how he looked, you know, his design and everything, and they were like, I don't know if this is going to be a good one because of the kibble, because of the clear plastic, etc. And while those concerns do last to this day, I really enjoyed unboxing, I enjoy looking at Mirage, I enjoy handling Mirage. He definitely takes the number 10 on my list. My favorite things about him is, well, first of all, he's my favorite Studio Series Autobot car, like, of all time. There's no Autobot car Studio Series that I admire more than this. The silver paint is just beautiful. The blue decals is phenomenal. I love the Porsche, like, logo on the side. He just has a really nice compressed alt mode. It was a disaster transforming him. It was like playing Fear Factor, but once you get him in that alt mode, he just shines. Now, my least favorite thing about him obviously is the robot mode kibble. It really does kind of bother me that he doesn't have that slender profile like the on-screen render, which does hurt the visual appeal of the robot mode, I will say. And I also have to say the excessive clear plastic on him is a quality concern. He's very fragile. I'm like extremely nervous to transform him, to pose him in robot mode. I know he's like a translucent sort of character because of the holographic ability, but I don't think it was a good decision to translate that into figure form, especially for a deluxe figure, which doesn't have the strongest build quality among the lineup. Overall though, he's phenomenal. I love him. I love this Porsche so much. I had to put him in my top 10 list. Number 9, I gotta give it to Studio Series 99, Rise of the Beast Battletrap. This figure is one of my favorite Rise of the Beast figures for Studio Series that they've ever released. It is just so freaking cool, and honestly, I gotta say, it is underrated. It's not talked about as much because the other characters in the lineup are more iconic in the film, so they're more discussed. But this guy just kind of nails his design more than a lot of the other Rise of the Beast figures that we got in the Studio Series lineup, and he deserves some recognition in this video. My favorite things about him, obviously, is his accuracy to the design we actually saw on screen. I happen to believe that this is the most accurate, visually, Studio Series Terracon that we have in the lineup. I also love his articulation. He has great articulation and great range of motion. His design is not really too obstructive, so his legs can do a lot. His arms can move around. He has great waist swivel. So he's a pretty nice figure to handle and transform and play around with, which I do love. My least favorite things about him, obviously, I would say the transformation is not satisfying for me at all. It's just once you get everything aligned, tabbing everything into place, it's a pain for me. It kind of doesn't really like click in very well, and so it's not really that satisfying. And I will also say that I really prefer that the arm hitch piece that we get on his arm would be removable. It's not removable. It's like part of it. It's like on a pin, I believe. And so that kind of hurts because sometimes I don't want to have that arm piece. And I really wish we had the minigun accessory instead of the arm piece. But overall, Battletrap is a phenomenal figure. He had to go on this list. Number 8, I gotta say, this is a pretty special figure. And it's one that's really close to my heart because it is a character and a design that carries a lot of memories from my childhood. Number 8 goes to the Studio Series Gamer Edition War for Cybertron, Optimus Prime. This thing is incredible. I'm so glad they remade him, and I love how he came out. He looks incredible. This game is heavily ingrained in my childhood. I remember playing it. I still play it to this day, and these designs are just so signature and original and unique and perfect for a video game aesthetic. My favorite things about him obviously is his accuracy to his game design. Is very accurate. You can tell that this is a video game Optimus Prime. It's from War for Cybertron. I also love the ion blaster attachment, a part of the arm, not something he has to hold, which the original kind of forced you to do. They actually integrated into the arm just like in the game to improve the visual aesthetic and the accuracy. I also love the scale. He's a Voyager. The original version, I believe, was a deluxe. I used to own that one. And so because he's a Voyager, obviously the scale's much better, and it's a little bit better budget of a figure, so they can integrate more, engineering, more paint. I also gotta say, it's freaking amazing that his Matrix chamber actually opens, and it's not just a detailed matrix, but it is a removable matrix. That is such a brilliant and fantastic addition for a Voyager class figure. My least favorite things, I will say, the paint on the axe is really dull, and I don't really like the little part that sticks out on the axe when you have to fold it out. I wish there was a way you could remove the smaller piece so that you would only have the giant blades showing and not that smaller one sticking out. But I'm glad that you can at least decide between, the double blade or the single long blade and then the short one. I think that's a good option. But I do think the paint on it and the details on it could have been way better on the axe. I also gotta say the fists in the alt mode sticking out of the back, that's a big eyesore when you transform him. Obviously, that was one of the biggest complaints I've seen online. And there is a DNA kit, by the way, that fixes both of these issues with the axe and also with the fists in the back. So I do plan to upgrade him, but just judging the figure as he comes, I think that was a pretty big eyesore. I also don't like that the ion blaster only works on one arm and not the other. I know this is game accurate, but the interchangeability between the arms would have been much better, just for display and posing purposes. But overall, this is a phenomenal figure. I'm so glad we finally have him. This thing is one to remember. Number 7, I gotta say this is a figure that I was highly anticipating whenever it was first announced. I was really looking forward to this figure, and I gotta say, it delivered. That would be the Studio Series 106 Rise of the Beast Leader Class Optimus Primal. This thing is awesome. First of all, he's my first Leader Class Primal, and I love the live action integration for this Maximal design. All of the Maximal designs in Rise of the Beasts were fantastic, but Optimus Primal is just something special because he's the leader class, so a lot went into the figure in terms of budget, paint, detailing, accessories, and we really got it in this one. This is the most accurate gorilla mode that we got for Primal for Rise of the Beasts, because he's way more accurate than the mainline version, and it really shows. I adore the silver paint applications on this thing. That's one of my favorite things. Also, one of my favorite things is the opening jaw. I love that his mouth opens. You can make him roar. On the mainline, that wasn't a thing. So I love that they added that for the leader class. I also gotta say, one of my favorite things is that the transformation is also really fun. I actually love transforming him. He's a figure that really holds together, so you don't feel like you're breaking him or you're losing your mind when you're transforming him. It actually works out really well. And I'm so glad they gave us the Transwarp key alongside this release. It's just perfect to go with the Rise of the Beast lineup. I'm so glad we got the Transwarp key alongside Primal and the rest of his accessories. My least favorite things I will say for this figure is obviously the articulation in the gorilla mode is heavily limited for the back legs. A lot of kibble, and there's very obvious, kibble with the feet of the robot mode. You actually have feet kibble in robot and gorilla mode, so it doesn't really conceal very well, which I feel like for a leader class figure, they obviously should have been able to do that. But honestly, those things are pretty minor nitpicks. My biggest issue with Primal is not really the figure, or the detailing, or the articulation. It's the scale. I just feel like he's a little too small. I really wish he was a larger figure. Like, I just wish he had a little bit of a bigger display presence on the shelf. I feel like he's a little too small, and I know that in the movie he really had a big presence. I mean, technically it works, like it's a decent enough scale, but I just wish it was a little bit larger. But overall, Optimus Primal is a signature figure. You gotta have him for a Rise of the Beast collection. He had to be on the list. Number 6 on the list, this is actually a figure, the first figure on my list that actually did not release in 2023. All of the previous ones were 2023 releases, but this is a figure that I collected, that I actually obtained in 2023, and this thing just had to be on the list. It is the Planet X Vulcan, aka the not Fall of Cybertron Grimlock. This thing is such a beast. Pun intended. My goodness, look at this thing. It's incredible. This is one of my favorite Grimlock designs. I absolutely loved him in Fall of Cybertron. My all-time favorite Grimlock design is the Bayverse Grimlock. I think he just looks incredibly ferocious, but this is gonna have to be my second favorite design of all time for Grimlock, and this figure spares no effort to completely encapsulate his presence from the Fallen Cybertron game. Planet X, y'all are wizards. Y'all are literal wizards. I love the teeth. I love the articulation. I love the freaking jaw. I love the light piping. I love the design of this thing. The scale of this thing is fantastic. This was one of my biggest purchases at TFCon LA 2023. And I'm so glad I snagged him. This is the regular edition. This is not the metallic edition. I do plan to swap this one for the metallic because the rest of the figures in my lineup are metallic, so I want it to all match, and I think that one is going to be a lot nicer. But even the regular edition is just absolutely incredible. One of my favorite things about it is, I would definitely say the engineering of the transformation is very clever. It is really awesome, and it has incredible accuracy and scale. It's one of the best Fall of Cybertron Grimlocks on the market, quite literally. I also love the shelf-dominating sword and shield combo that you can display him with in robot mode. My least favorite things, I would say, is some of the handling is a little flimsy, it's a little wonky. Some of the tabs don't really stay in 100% of the time, and some of the plastic, you know, some of the hinges are kind of wonky and flimsy, but other than that, I mean, he's absolutely great. All right, we've arrived to number 5. We are at the top 5. My top 5 favorite collected figures in 2023. Coming in at number 5, this is a figure that technically did not release in 2023, but it is one that I acquired in 2023, and I actually didn't even purchase this one. This was a gift, so it's already sentimental, and of course, it is of a character that I admire with all of my heart, and that would be the Hasbro MPM-14 Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime. This is truly a masterpiece. Like, truly a like the online photos does not do it justice. In hand, he is a beast of a figure. I am in love with MPM-14. And this particular figure, I have the DNA upgrade kit on, so this is the figure with the DNA kit, which I think just makes him even better. But my favorite things about him, obviously, is just the impeccable live-action detailing. He has such fantastic engineering as well for flexibility and transformation. His transformation is genius, and he can really pull off a lot of poses in robot mode, which I love, because I don't really plan to transform him. I want to pose him in robot mode. I think his paint apps are incredibly superb. Like, the silver is beautiful, the red is beautiful. He's a very vibrant character. I think he's like a vibrant figure overall, and it just looks so good. The blue is nice and rich, the red is nice and saturated, the double Autobot logos are fantastic, the detailing in the back, look at the kibble suppression. Look at the kibble suppression. This thing transforms. He's got a phenomenal scale as well. I love like upscaled figures and a great shelf presence, and one of the things that just blew me away, I gotta say, when I opened the Matrix chamber, the detailing in the Matrix chamber is incredible. incredible. My least favorite things about him, I would say, I wish he came with more like melee weapons, you know? I know that he didn't have it on screen, so technically it is accurate to only give him the ion blaster, but I would have loved an axe. I would have loved an energon blade. I would have loved a shield, something else other than the ion blaster. It is accurate. Hasbro did the right thing. They gave us exactly what we saw on screen, but I just would have liked some bonus things because he's so good and he's so awesome to pose. I just wanted more, like, you know, accessories to throw in with the posing. Another issue that I actually would say is a legitimate drawback to the figure is the weapon storage in robot mode is not secure. It falls off really easily. When you take the weapon, the ion blaster, you convert it and you put it on his tailpipe, I guess you can say. It's not a secure fit. It easily falls off, so you can't really pose him with it. You can't really do much. I mean, if you bump it, it comes right off. So if it was a little bit more secure, it'd be much better, but it's not, and that's an issue that I don't really like about it. But other than that, he is a spectacular figure and he had to go on the list. Coming in at number 4, this is again a figure that did not release in 2023, but that I acquired this year, and that's going to be the ThreeZero Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Jetfire. I gotta give it to him. Gotta give it to him. This thing, when I first opened it, I absolutely could not believe how crazy it was to assemble him. But as soon as I got him assembled, I was legitimately speechless. This thing is an absolute work of art. It is 100% complete accuracy to the Bayverse render, and this is a piece of like art. Like, it's not even a figure that you really mess around with. He is truly a work of art. Obviously, this piece that I'm holding here is not complete because I have him combined with Optimus Prime, the ThreeZero, but this is the remaining piece, and even just looking at this, you can see the impeccable detailing and even the LEDs that you see there. One of my favorite things about him, obviously, is the complete accuracy to the on-screen design, the on-screen appearance, and also the freaking scale of this guy. This is technically a deluxe scale, but this is one of the largest deluxe scales that I've ever seen ThreeZero create. Like, it's borderlining premium scale. When I put him next to my premium scale Prime, it's up there. It's not like the normal deluxe, because Jetfire was a larger character, so his deluxe scale is going to be pretty big on the big side, and I love his scale. I love the weathering on him. I love all of the detailing, the die cast. He's one of the most premium pieces that I have, and the fact that they nailed this really strange, spiky Bayverse design is remarkable. Honestly, they really did it. I legitimately think there's no other articulating Revenge of the Fallen Jetfire as perfectly looking as this. Now, one of my least favorite things about this guy is that this thing is extremely fragile. He's extremely fragile. Like, posing him is near impossible. You can do it, but be very careful. He has a lot of spiky parts sticking out of his body, and those are very sensitive pieces that could be easily snapped if you're not careful enough. This is not really a figure for playability, is really just for looks and display. So this is one of those things that if you just want a really nice shelf presence, then you would get this. But other than that, playing around with this is not recommended at all. I would also say the combination with Optimus Prime is extremely time consuming. Every little part and piece literally goes somewhere. It does serve for a fantastic Jet Power Prime appearance, but yeah, it takes a while to do, and it's something that I really don't want to ever do again. It's a display piece that just happens to articulate, and I think it's beautiful, just can't really mess around with it too much. But I had to put him on the list because it is one of the most beautiful. Okay, great, just the hand came off. Great stuff. But I had to put him on the list because it is one of the most beautiful figures that I've ever come into contact with this year, and I'm really impressed by what ThreeZero has been able to do with this figure and the combination with Prime. Alright, we're at number 3. We are in the top 3. My top 3 favorite collected figures of the year. I gotta give number 3 to a figure that I have been wanting since I was a child. It is also sentimental because this is a character that I admired, and it's part of my childhood just as much as Prime is. The Warper Cybertron Gamer Edition Prime Studio Series. And that goes to the Planet X Genesis, the metallic version. This thing is insane. He is so beautiful. He's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. This is the not War for Cybertron Omega Supreme. First of all, this is my favorite design for Omega Supreme, and this is the best figure I have ever seen of this Omega Supreme. This is my favorite Omega Supreme figure, I would probably say, that ever released, ever, of all time. Like, over Siege, over the G1 stuff, all of it. One of my favorite things is that, obviously, the shelf presence is unmatched. This thing is a freaking powerhouse. He has LED power cells. The metallic paint is absolutely spectacular. And the accuracy to the in-game appearance is really on par. He's a heavy boy, but he's a beautiful boy. He's perfect for my War for Cybertron lineup. Now, some of my least favorite things about him, obviously, is the balancing. I think he's extremely top-heavy. He's got these giant pieces and some tinier legs. So balancing him, keeping him from tipping over, is a little bit of a job, but it does work if you know how to balance him right and you can just angle him right. You just got to play with him a little bit, but he doesn't really balance as well as I wish he would. He is really top heavy. I will also say that the metallic paint, the coating, needs more layers because it just kind of helps prevent the metallic paint from chipping. I have seen some people say that his metallic paint chips. Thankfully, it hasn't chipped on mine because I saw that in advance, so I didn't really mess with them too much. But the fact that that is a thing, I wish it would have had more coats and the metallic paint would have been more durable. I also don't like that the power cell buttons on him, you have to remove the power cell buttons first. Like, you have to remove it first in order to turn them on. And I wish there was a way that you can turn them on without having to remove them. But other than that, this is a monster. And I am really tempted to get Trypticon after seeing this guy. All right, here we go. Top 2, baby. This is it. Number 2 on the list. I got to give it to a figure that has made my year. This is a figure that I have been anticipating since announcement. He's so special to me from his presence on screen, and it is obviously one of my favorite characters of all time. Actually, no, my favorite fictional character ever. And that would be the Studio Series 102, Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime. This figure is historic. Like, it's a landmark figure. He's so incredibly nice. I have had nothing but fun posing him, transforming him, and admiring him. The detailing on him is amazing, and that's one of my favorite things among many. I also gotta say, his transformation is so satisfying and fun. It's way more satisfying and clicky than the Bayverse Optimus Prime, and also Studio Series 38. And speaking of the two, I gotta say that the connection of the robot mode leg tabs are way better on 102 than the 38 Prime. That was one of the things I did not like about Studio Series 38 Prime, is that when you're posing him, at least on my copy, his tabs kept untabbing. You have to keep tabbing in the legs, and it became kind of a pain. But this guy completely nails that. He looks beautiful in robot mode, and I actually don't mind him in alt mode either. The transformation is a blast, and he's such an iconic character from Rise of the Beasts. My favorite character in Rise of the Beasts, and this is one of the best figures that they put out for Optimus Prime in Voyager class for Studio Series. Hands down. My least favorite things about this figure, because there are some, I hate the blaster. I can't. I hate the tiny blaster. That really does bother me. It just doesn't capture the heftiness and the aggressiveness of his on-screen battle mode. When he engaged that blaster, his whole arm engaged into a weapon. It wasn't just his fists or his hands. And this just doesn't do it. It doesn't do it. I also gotta say, the butterfly shoulders, not a fan. I really wish he had better articulation, better range of motion on the shoulders, because he's such a fun figure to pose and like to have on the shelf and play around with. It really hurts to have, the shoulders only have the up and down motion. You have to untab the backpack to kind of like move it around to kind of get some motion, and it's just not working out as good as it could have. Now, I will say, the oversized smokestacks on the shoulders and the truck kibble for the bed of the truck in alt mode, those are technical drawbacks, but for me, in my opinion, just to be quite honest, it doesn't bother me that much. It's not like that big a deal for me. I think the blaster's a bigger deal for me. But I will mention the smokestacks in the truck mode kibble, because technically those are drawbacks. Even though it doesn't bother me too much, I gotta mention it. But other than that, this is one of my favorite Studio Series Voyager Optimus Primes of all time. I do love him more than 38. Maybe the Bayverse, I'm still struggling with that. But this thing almost made my number 1. Almost made figure of the year until Hasbro decided to drop something else that blew my mind. So let's get into my number one. My number one, my favorite figure of the year that beats everything I just mentioned. Like, I'm so serious when I say this. This is the figure of the year for me. And that is the Hasbro MPM-14 Bonecrusher. Y'all, this is the champion. He is the heavyweight champion of Ahayaha. This thing is a miracle. I'm not even kidding, dude. He is so good. Guys, the sheer size of this thing, the detailing, the screen accuracy in both robot and truck mode, the weight of him due to some of the die-cast pieces, the transformation engineering is brilliant. The articulation, considering his wonky design, is so impressive. The durability of his build. I'm still freaking out over this thing. Bonecrusher blew my mind. And maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe this is not a big deal. Maybe I should have put ThreeZero Jetfire. Maybe I could have put Planet X and Mega Supreme. Maybe 102 Prime should have been number one. But this thing impressed me the most. Like, just impressed. It's because it's not just the accuracy, but it is the engineering. It's the fact that he's that accurate in both modes. It's the scale, the display presence, the aggressiveness. It's the weight. It's the articulation. It's everything. I can't talk. I can't even talk. Usually with figures, you have to pick one or the other. Either you're gonna pick really awesome display presence, or you're gonna pick playability. Because figures that are good with display presence, some of them don't transform, some of them are premium, you know, they're very fragile, so you can't really mess around with them too much. Or the playability. Maybe it's playability, you can transform it, you can have a lot of fun with it, but it's not as beautiful, it doesn't have that big, nice display presence, it's not as accurate. This thing was like, hold my bone. This thing just somehow accomplishes both. It accomplishes the display presence and it nails it. And then it accomplishes the playability because it's well built. So you can do both with Bonecrusher. He is such a gangster. Y'all, I mean, like, the dirt and grime in the tires. The fact that all the tires are real tires that are actually translate from the alt mode to the robot mode. They actually, like, roll. The clever window panels wrapping around the shoulders. The awesome articulating forks. Like, this guy just obliterated my expectations. And it has become my favorite Hasbro MPM figure. Even over Blackout, which I was not expecting. In terms of my least favorite things, my only issue at first was the QC issue with the legs, the ratchet joints. But after the DIY repair, where you can kind of fix it a little bit, it's not even a lasting concern for me. It was a concern at first, not really anymore, because it kind of works a lot better now. If this is the direction that Hasbro is taking the MPM line, I can't wait for Brawl and for the rest of the lineup, whatever they do after the 07 film, because this is a true masterpiece. So that's it. That's my top 10 list for the year. All the figures that I've collected, I think these are really amazing figures, and most of these actually did release in 2023, so I have to accredit 2023 for being such a fantastic year for releases. And a lot of these, I'm glad that I acquired in 2023, because they kind of are going rare. They're kind of going extinct. It's not really easy to find some of these. So the fact that I have them, I have to be very grateful for, and it's been an incredible year for collecting, and yeah, I'm really happy. I love all of these. Truly, they all have a special meaning to me, and they all have a perfect dedicated spot on my show. But that's it for this video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. I want you guys to comment below, what is your favorite figure? Some of your favorite figures that you collected in 2023. Drop it in the comments below and share this video with a friend. I also just want to say thank you guys so much for an incredible year. 2023 will go down as a phenomenal year for the Transformers franchise and a landmark year for the Alfonso Nation. And I couldn't be more grateful to you guys for just being along the journey with me and, you know, carrying along this passion with me and just, you know, loving Transformers like I do. And I've always done for over 13 years now. Have a happiest new year to all of you guys. This is going to be my final face video of the year, so hope you guys have a phenomenal new year as we roll out into 2024 to make even more amazing memories. Until then, I will see you all on the other side. Till all are one. Home team!